right, welcome back to the 28-3 podcast. I'm Corey here with Max and Nick once again. We're doing this from remote as it's the holiday season, of course. But it was not so happy holidays for the Saints on Thursday night. That one was a tough one to watch. The final score said 30-22, but that one was so far from a one-score game. Just complete letdown on the Saints' part. So many bad things to say about it. Let's kick it off with Max first. Max, what are your just initial thoughts on the game as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it was painful to watch. It was a complete ass kicking from start to finish. I didn't feel like we were in the game at any point. I know the final score is going to be misleading, and I think that's kind of the MO of the Saints this year. They've been a few times where they've been getting smacked around, and you think it might go the way of a blowout. And then all of a sudden they claw their way back in, and it's a one-score game by the final whistle. To their credit, they don't quit. The guys on the team absolutely refuse to quit. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing this season is up for debate. But I just at no point did I feel like we were in the game. It seemed like a foregone conclusion from start to finish. Just a painful game to watch. I know Nick was actually at the game, so I guess he can give us some thoughts from ground zero.
Yeah, it's a tough one to be at. Max and I have kind of been talking about this game for about a month. And, my stance on it was this was going to be a very difficult game for us on a short week. Once Stafford came back from that minor injury he had kind of midway through the season, they've been a different team. They've been able to run the ball, throw the ball. We talked about it last episode. This one, I did not have high hopes of a win. I did hope it looked better than it did. We talked a lot about, Chris Olave on the preview episode and how, I said, I believe this game is his for the taking. He's going to eat these guys up in their secondary. He did that, except in the most crucial moments. And that's the most disappointing thing to me about this game, was that he was having an outstanding game and a couple plays, maybe I'm being harsh, but I feel like those were fairly straightforward catches for a guy like Chris Olave on 3rd and 5 twice. And I think 3rd and 6 was the last one that shut down drives that were in their territory. And we went to 4th down. We didn't convert, I think, on 2 of those. And the other one, I believe we punted. I could be wrong on that. But either way, we ended up not getting points when he had first down yardage on all 3 of them. And I just had a feeling going into this could have been like his statement game for the Saints. And while he had a good game, the statement plays weren't there. He could have changed that game by making those catches that I felt were good throws by Carr, and he didn't make it. Obviously, the Carr interception was a catastrophe. I mean, just doesn't even see the dropping guy in the short zone there at all. Throws it right to him. Terrible pass, terrible read. Didn't even see it. The defense was the worst performer of the whole day as a whole. Their first, I think I texted y'all, I think their first 8 drives, we forced 1 punt. Everything else was either a field goal chance or a converted touchdown or field goal. They got destroyed. Yeah, and
they were doing
we didn't stop anything. They ran it 5 yards a carry, 100-yard rusher. They threw it 300 yards, 170-yard receiver. Check every box. They got killed. Go ahead, Max.
Yeah, it's just it was just painful to watch. I mean, deflating, I think, would be the best word. Because now at this point you're effectively out of the wild card race unless something crazy happens. So now you're back to where we were 2 weeks ago, where you can only count on winning your division to get you to the playoffs. This week the Bucs have the Jags. It looks like Trevor Lawrence is going to play. So that obviously makes their chances a lot better of beating the Bucs. But man, I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of ready. I will never cheer for the Saints to lose, but I am probably going to be rooting for the Bucs to steamroll the Jags this weekend. Just put this damn season out of its misery, and but even saying that, DA is going to be back next year. This front office is going to sit on their asses, and Gail Benson's not going to do shit about it, and we're going to be stuck with DA for another season, which I guess on the positive side means we should see lots of T-shirt sales, but I don't know. Corey, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if DA is back, then we'll have hopefully we can all retire on the t-shirt sales, and then that's also that's shop.28to3.podcast.com. So where you can get the Fire Dennis Allen t-shirt. Hottest thing on the market right now. But it's I was looking at the tiebreaker scenarios, at least head to head with us and the Bucks. I haven't looked at the three-way tiebreakers, but if the Bucks beat the Jags, then I don't believe we can even win the division. They have all of the tiebreakers over us, so that would put it to bed. And I'll say that before our next question, y'all. I'll say that the more general thought first on the franchise. I can't disagree with you, Max, that based on the track record of this front office of ownership, that they would probably elect to, quote, give Dennis another chance. That, we don't seem to be a franchise that seems to say like 2 years is enough time to really see what a coach can do, especially with, 1 year with his chosen quarterback. But I really hope that we're wrong. And here's why. I mean, obviously I hate dealing with Dennis Allen as a head coach. I just don't think he's the right guy, but I said it before, but we're on the brink of completely losing the franchise as a business, or at least going back to like the really, really dark days. It'll never be completely lost because there will always be those fans, the stalwarts that don't go anywhere, even as bad as we are. But, it's really like, we're not trying to hang on to the personnel and the coaches. I don't think we should do that from the Super Bowl era. But once Mickey got here and then he established Sean as the coach and then Breeze comes in, it just set the franchise on a different pattern, a different track, on a successful track. And we're on the brink of just completely erasing any progress we made from that whole successful era. And just as a business, and it just, if you want to stay a successful business and you're Mickey, or if you're Gale and you want your value to go up, it's like you're about to lose almost your whole fan base with the quality of product you're putting out there. So again, like that's the logical take. But again, like y'all said, we don't really expect this front office and Gale to follow, logic in that sense. But going back to the game, Nick, you mentioned Chris Olave. There were some people out there that thought that critical 3rd and 5 was actually Carr putting the ball behind him, like throwing it too hard, throwing it to his back shoulder, and just making it impossible for Olave to adjust, hence him slipping. I know your position on that. You thought it was a good throw. Max, did you think that it was a bad throw from Carr or just a complete drop from Olave on 3rd and 5?
Here's the deal. I don't care about the quality of the throw because at that point you're a paid professional. And if you want to be an elite wide receiver, like most of Saints Twitter and the Saints fan base wants to think Olave is, you got to catch the fucking ball. You know what I mean? Yeah. Could it have been
it hit both hands either way. I'm sorry.
I mean, could it have been a softer throw with more touch? Absolutely. Could it have been better placed? Absolutely.
Sure.
When you have two hands on the ball, do you need to catch the ball in a clutch situation? Absolutely. So look, that's more people who hate Carr and have to inflate Olave, and it's just, we can admit that neither of them played well. You know what I mean? In the key moments, because Olave did have a damn good game considering the coming off of the ankle injury, and we know he wasn't 100%, and he did very well. And as Nick said, that could have been his statement performance. But the reality is there were some clutch plays, yet again, where he didn't come through, and that's a pattern with him. And
what about that third one, Corey? I just texted to you, by the way. But what about that third? I'm calling it 3 drops. I know some people aren't. I'm saying there's 3 third downs that hit both his hands. The third one was, I mean, where should Carr put it? Should he walk over there and jam it in his face mask? I don't know what else he's supposed to do. It's just. I'm not saying these throws are perfect. Those throws are there, and the plays are there to be made.
No, the last one was completely inexcusable. Yeah. I was going to say the last one was completely inexcusable. The one where it was just, it was on a comeback and it just, you can't miss, you definitely can't miss that. And I think on the 3rd and 5, I mostly agree with Max, I mean, and you as well, but like the whole idea that like, if you're an NFL wide receiver and the ball is in a place where you can get both hands like on it, you got to catch it. But yeah, what were you saying there, Nick?
No, I'm agreeing. I just think this could have been a complete coming out party for him, for those fans on the fence. And I think, you see his talent. He wouldn't be that open if he wasn't incredibly talented. We all see that. I'm not trying to knock the guy's talent at all. There's just too many plays like that one that have happened this year that give me pause and saying, everyone's calling him a Pro Bowl receiver in the socials. And I'm like, he's not even close to a Pro Bowl receiver this year. When you look at that list, you realize that if you're really analyzing the NFC's best pass catchers, he's not it. He's not in that group. His skill set is there for sure. We all see that. We see him come out of breaks with, 3 yards of separation. That's the hardest part of the position. He does it. I think he's timid. I think he's afraid to get hit. I think that's part of it. And I think it's just mental. And when he feels a hit coming, that's when his drops happen or his inability to make that tough play happen. When he feels comfortable or he's got distance and he can make an diving catch, one-handed catch, he doesn't seem to have a problem with that. I think it's when he feels the defense there is when he has his biggest trouble locking up those really tough catches. I'll be honest with you, I didn't even find these to be tough catches. So that's why it was hard for me. To see him have that game and to see Carr look at him 14 times, I believe, that's what we want. And the ball was being delivered. I think he only had 4 incompletions and 3 of them hit him in both hands. And he had 125 plus yards. I mean, could have just been that game that puts him into that tier that I think a lot of Saints fans thinks he's already there. I'm not one of them. I think he's still got a ways to go. But I think it's a shame. And I'm not saying we win the game if not, but that's 3 different drives he could have extended. And in my opinion, on offense, as of today, he is our most talented guy. He's just not always playing that way.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you watch him play. He reminds me of the St. Louis Rams. Well, he reminds me of the St. Louis Rams wide receivers from the Greatest Show on Turf days. Catch the ball and immediately look for that place to just fall down. Now, I can kind of understand it the other day with the ankle injury, and obviously, at that point you probably don't want to take the chance for a big hit to get re-injured, but he does that in all the games, and that's not the receiver that I'm going to pay $30 million to in 2 or 3 years, which he's going to command. And he's going to command it, and we'll probably end up giving it to him, and it's going to be looked at as poorly as the Michael Thomas contract is being looked at now. For a receiver to be the undisputed number one, any situation guy, you need to be making those tough ass catches, man. Like look at Nuke Hopkins. Like for the longest stretch for a couple of years, like to me, Nick and I had this conversation a lot. He in our opinion, we agreed on it, was probably the best receiver for a few years. And there was no point where they would throw the ball anywhere near him that you doubted he wasn't going to come down with it. Like didn't matter if it was 3 yards to the right, 3 yards to the left, 3 yards over his head. He was catching the damn ball. And that's the kind of receiver that's a true number one. Like Olave is an amazing number 2, or he's a solid number 1. He is not this elite all pro, just stud number 1. But again, I don't want to turn this episode into an Olave bashing. Look, the guy. No,
this is.
He gritted it out. He played through injury. He played well, and it's just we just need to stop expecting him to be something he's not.
Right, he's not like physically built to be the only receiver that you need to have that receiving core that you just talked about, Max. I mean, he's always going to need like another guy opposite him to be like that huge, like go up and get it type of receiver. I mean, Olave is insanely talented, and I think the issues that we have with him, I know there's some people that think like Olave can do no wrong, but I think the issues we have with him are the same as the issues we have with the team as a whole. And so this will kind of bring me into our next kind of question is or idea of some, we can get off the Olave conversation, but it's like we've expected so much out of this team. I mean, on paper, the talent, the performances that some of these same guys have had before, we think that we should be doing a hell of a lot better, especially with the easier schedule. And, one of the things that people have said about DA and why the people that said keep him or give him more time is that, well, he's been the one bright spot as a coach because the defense, like from a positional standpoint, because the defense has actually done well. I think this past game, you just saw us completely revert on defense. I mean, what was the most concerning thing? I mean, unless it's the defense as a whole, but I mean, like, was there anything that was more concerning than others on the defense, or was it just like a complete and utter shit show?
I mean, it was.
Start with you, Nick.
I think.
Well, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah. I think it's what all of us have been talking about, and how we brought up in the last 2 episodes, even in those winning games. Do we feel better about the defense? And everyone said no, right? Because we're old. And the defensive line looks old. They didn't pressure Stafford in the least bit. He sat back there clean. He didn't have to throw a difficult pass the entire game. That was easy money for him. He's way too good if he's not pressured. He is what Carr would be if Carr had anywhere near his talent, right? If he's standing up, he can beat you. If you pressure him, he'll throw you a few. He's a much better player, but it's the same type of thing. Stafford protected is a dangerous quarterback, and we got nowhere near him. It was terrible. I knew they were going to run the ball on us. I conceded that up front, and they did. I said our chance to win was to get Stafford to throw us 2 of them, right? And we catch both of them and win the turnover battle. Well, Carr threw them 1, they took it, and they stomped us. That's what happened. I think the defense is old. Yeah. I think it needs a huge reboot. We need to, let go of some of those guys we love. I've always said many times on here as well that Cam retires a Saint regardless. I feel the same way about DeMario. That doesn't mean I would be upset if Cam announces his retirement this year.
I'm praying for it.
DeMario has – what's that?
I'm praying.
You're praying for it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's hard to watch. We love him, and but he's not the same player, and we've got a lot of money tied up in him. DeMario, he's played pretty outstanding, so it's hard to say the same thing about DeMario. But we need to think about trading assets to build up picks now. This defense isn't getting any younger, so we're going to have to build. Does that mean trading key pieces like Lattimore and since you have Alante, Adebo, Yadam sitting behind them that are, I believe Yadam's a year younger, so they're all younger if I'm correct on that. Lattimore is, in my opinion, the most talented Saint on the roster, but he would carry a huge price in the trade market. If we're going to start to reboot, I think we need to start looking at revamping the defense pretty heavily. So one thing, I don't know if I text you guys that or not, but I think after this year, every decision in this offense needs to be with 2025 in mind. Because next year, whether we roll with DA or not, we're rolling with Carr. Sorry, fans, it's happening. Carr's going to be here. We owe him too much money. It doesn't make any sense to cut him. So I'm not even saying that means we don't draft a quarterback if that's an option. I'm just saying next year we're rolling with Carr. So let's start making all moves for 2025 and hope that they pay dividends early and we can have a good 2024. But this needs to be a youth movement this offseason. We have to get out of the age of the roster. It's too old and they're not performing. So it's time. And whether DA is here or not, that has to happen on the roster side. We have to get younger. We have to find a way. Corey?
Yeah. I agree with that. And the idea of having a good 2024 at this point just doesn't even, I can't see it. I think we need to try to do what we did not do with Breeze and just sell out as much as we can, pay the price and draft capital to go up and get a QB in the top 5 of this draft. We have to plan for the future of that position, because we definitely did not do that well enough with Breeze. We had 0 exit plan. It's hurting us now. We thought that we could get by with the mediocre guy. We thought we could get by with a guy like Carr, who's obviously never going to be a Breeze. Will always be middle of the road. I mean, actually, Jim Mora, of all people, said it after the game on Channel 6, where he's like, I think Fletcher asked him, do you think we could see any improvement from Derek Carr, assuming he has to come back next year? And Mora's like, no. He's like he is, and he was right. He's like, he is who he is. You're not going to see improvement out of Carr, so you got to stop thinking that he's part of the long-term plans or even the near long-term plans. You've got to go up and draft a rookie, and hopefully that's a guy that can sit behind Carr for a little bit, or beat him out in camp even, and just roll with him. Because that's proven to be the model for the teams that are having success now. The position has completely changed. And so the success of this team is like you said, it's 2025 and on. Would be lucky if it's 2024. But I still think it starts with, some people are saying it starts at the very top. I mean, to an extent it does, but we're really not going anywhere until DA is the fuck out of here. Okay. And there's no reason to keep just, no, I know your take. I know y'all's take. He's not going anywhere next year.
Not that. I was just gonna bring up the Loomis thing from the top. I agree with you 100%. DA needs to be. I told y'all he deserves this year. I believe he did. You don't sign a coach and not give him 2 years. At this point, he didn't do it, so it's time. Yeah. But I would say, and here's the roster situation is Loomis right now. That's Loomis, and we don't just have a coaching problem. We have a roster problem today. We do. Go ahead.
Well,
sorry.
I guess the only thing to push. No, but the only thing to push back on the Loomis thing is all right, when he did have his the dude, when Peyton was at Peyton prime, I mean, yeah, Peyton and Breeze, and it's kind of maybe devil's advocate is saying what GM would not succeed with Drew Brees and a coach like Peyton at the helm, but I think I don't know. It's got to start somewhere. I mean, DA and Carr both are just. I've never seen two more toxic individuals on this fan base in a long time, and more so to DA's side of things. I mean, the man had what was the most important game of his Saints head coaching career, and just completely shit the bed. I mean, just showed everybody how outclassed he was by McVay, how outmatched he was by the defensive coordinator on the other side. I mean, making these coaching decisions in a complete panic mode. The team everyone's saying the team was showing fight behind DA. It's no, they were showing desperation because of the place that they put themselves in under a coach that can't properly lead them and is making these decisions. I mean, to give you 10-point swings minimum before the half, it's just another year of him. Regardless of what we start doing with the roster, even if we had a different, you have a different GM, you have a different coach, but I think there's a better chance of DA going somewhere than Loomis ever going anywhere with Gil Benson.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about though, because we know Mickey Loomis has a lifetime contract. He's not going anywhere.
Yep.
He is now as much as part of this organization as the facility on Airline Highway and the Superdome. He is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But my biggest
that's what I'm saying.
No, but we've been over that.
DA
and my biggest worry is I don't see us picking a quarterback this year because, DA is going to be I need, offensive line help, or I need a defensive end, which he does. We do need more of those. And I just don't see any situation where they're going to pick a quarterback and have him sit behind, because that's basically saying, well, DA, you're lame duck. You don't even get a first round pick that's going to really serve you a purpose. Because he is attached at the hip to Carr and how Carr performs. He did that this past year when he pushed for him and got that contract. So now he's going to go down with the ship with Carr.
Yeah,
there's no way a rookie comes in and he's going to let him beat out Carr. There's no way.
Yeah, I agree. So I think there's only so much more I think we can say about the state of the franchise, especially in light of what we just saw on Thursday night. I will say, did either, there are some people who actually agreed with Dennis Allen. This is called one of the last questions we have before we wrap it up, but did y'all agree with either of those calls? The going for it on 4th and 5 before the half, or the onside kick? I heard quote unquote football guys trying to justify it. I'm just I don't see it.
I absolutely
Sometimes
am
you
all
have
for the
opinions on
onside kick. The 4th and 5, I
really?
agree with you guys on the 4 and 5.
Please.
Our defense did not stop them one time, so I have no problem with the onside kicks. The defense was terrible. So in a different scenario, I would never kick that onside kick. 100%, I'm kicking that onside kick because all they need is one first down. We had no timeouts. They need one first down. They ran up and down the field on us all game, 450 yards. It was domination. So I have no problem with that. As a thing. I do have a problem with the 4th and 5, down 3 at halftime. That's a terrible decision. It was an emotional move because Olave dropped it and we had the play. I think that was a boneheaded call, terrible. But the onside kick with almost 4 minutes to go, one first down ends it with a defense that could. Look, we didn't stop them when we missed the onside kick. So what's to make me think because it was 30 yards further back that we would have? The defense sucked. They were terrible. I have no problem with it. But I agree with you 100% on the 4th down call. There's no need to panic there down 3 before the half. You're probably going in down 3 when you played like shit. I don't understand that one at all. Max?
Yeah,
Max,
the one before half I hated. I hated it. You know, I turned to Alex. I said, they're going to score. I said, they're absolutely going to score right now because we just fucking went for it at this spot on the field. And it's, I didn't like it from the beginning, and obviously it came back to bite us in the ass. The onside kick, I mean, whatever. At that point, it was over. Like Nick said, the defense wasn't stopping them. You had to, you couldn't count on them to stop them. Like we had the the block punt. JT Gray. That's the only thing that kept the score even remotely close at the end. So yeah, I don't disagree too much with doing the onside kick there because the defense wasn't stopping shit.
So my only issue, I agree with you on the 4th and 5. I hope everybody does, but the onside kick, it was the biggest thing for me was the time left on the clock, and I know we didn't have any timeouts, and I know we didn't stop them before that, but it's just like if you want to. You work so hard to get it to within one score, and then you do something that even if they don't get the first down, or if they get even remotely close to kicking 3, now you've just given them a 2-score advantage if you're really, really trying to win the game. But kind of like y'all said, though, I mean, I was pissed about it, but so much negative had happened to leading up to that point that I was watching the game like with half, like one eye at that point, just kind of like, okay, just end this misery, put us out of it right now. So speaking of putting us out of the misery, I think we've about covered everything we can cover with like that terrible loss, unless either of y'all have any other thoughts on the game that y'all want to get into before we wrap this up.
No.
Yeah, I want to say one more thing.
Yeah, what you got?
Okay, sorry. Just about the onside kick. The way I look at that and why I said that is I think you said 3.5 was the exact number, right? So we know a first down we lose, right? One first down's cutting it out with no timeouts, even with the 2-minute warning.
3:53.
Okay, so essentially you're getting the ball with, I don't know, less than 30 seconds for sure. If you give up a first down and then stop them, you're getting it with less than 30 seconds. Game's effectively over. So my thought process there is you're going to have to stuff them. If you kick it away, they're at the 25. They gain, say, 5 yards on 3 carries. They pump from the 30. We're getting the ball at about the 25, 30-yard line, our own best-case scenario. We kick the onside kick. They get it at the 45. If you stuff them for 5 yards, they're not trying a 58-yard field goal. They're going to punt it. We're going to have it at the 10. So you're really talking about a 15-yard risk for a chance to get the ball. You have to stop them on that first series, either situation, right? Otherwise, you're not getting the ball back with enough time to win. You're talking about 15, 20 yards, you're gambling there. Now, if they were to come out and kick a 58-yarder on 4th and 2, then what do you do? That's good for them. So that one didn't bother me, just for the logic behind why I felt that way. But that's all I got to say. It was pretty bad performance overall. Again, against a good team. I feel they are a good team. Yeah. They're better than their record, in my opinion. They had injuries early, and we got whooped.
Yeah, there's really not much more to say about it. I mean, it was the worst performance of the year. We don't even need to recap our predictions because there was no offensive MVP and there was no defensive MVP. It was just an overall shit.
Oh yeah, that's right. We were going to talk about that.
There's no need to.
We usually pick up.
It's just
right. No, there's no one on the offense that had any value. Therefore, no one could be most valuable. If it's all zeros, there's no most. That's there's the math. How's that, Nick, for your stats?
Yeah, I love that. That's perfect. I mean, there were some good stat lines. There was no good
Anyway.
players. Sorry. There were no MVPs, period.
Yeah. 0.
Yeah, the easiest way. Let's close it out
Anyway.
with just reviewing the predictions as far as the winners. So Nick and I were correct. Corey, you were incorrect. So you are back in third place, sole possession. So yeah, I think
I made a
that's pretty much it.
mad dash to try to pull ahead of y'all by. I thought I saw blood in the water with 2 of y'all going one way. I thought I could actually go the other way and make make up some ground. That backfired, and here we are in the standings. But Max doesn't care about standings; he just thinks they're funny.
It is funny. I think it's.
Anyway.
I'm laughing because you literally you outsmarted yourself, and it's so funny. I told you. Look, I'm picking. Just,
it happens
spoiler
a lot.
alert.
I
will be picking the Buccaneers next week. I'll be picking the Falcons the following week, and I'll probably be right more often than I'll be wrong.
Yeah. As you like to think you are. But anyway, with that, we're gonna wrap this one up, and we will be coming back to you. Well, actually, it mostly should be Max and Nick on the next couple episodes, I believe, unless I'm able to sneak one in. But I'm getting the hell out of here for a honeymoon before the next game. I'm kind of glad that there's going to be a game happening when I'm in another country, location undisclosed. But until then, thank you all for listening to another episode of the 28-3 podcast.